Hey, it's Tom from Texas and it's time for another Floppy Deep Dive, and today we're going to be doing another edition of
What's on that floppy?
And if you wondered what's on that floppy, if this is your first time, it's just me doing a deep dive looking into this floppy disk and what's on it for the first time in 30 years. So if you like retro computers and you like retro gaming and you like anything and everything involved with the Commodore 64, you're gonna love this channel. And I want to remind you guys, don't forget about the contest. This is the 8th video, so you will get all 8 keywords now. Once you get those 8 keywords, just email them to p1tom@yahoo.com. You'll be put in a drawing to win one of Tom's retro posters. I'll ship it to anywhere in the world. You could still play. If you haven't got the keywords from the past 7 videos, just go watch the past 7 videos and get the keyword out of all those. Write them down, send them to me at p1tom, and you too can win one of Tom's retro posters. So I had some of my subscribers ask me how they could help support the channel, so I started a Patreon page, and I'll put up the link to it up here in the video so you can go check it out. So if you'd like to support Floppy Deep Dive, and basically what you do is you select the tier that you want to do. Anything would be great. Basically buy Tom a cup of coffee a month, or you could do a little bit more where you could actually, if you do one tier, you can get a retro poster or even a retro t-shirt. You'll get your names in the credits and shout outs by me. So I appreciate everybody and anybody who wants to support Floppy Deep Dive. And again, just go check out the Patreon page. And this video is sponsored by PCBWay.
When you're needing a PCB board, either small, medium, large, and different colors, exactly how you're needing it, PCBWay is the place to go, and I love it for when I'm using my retro computers and I need that. I like to jump over to the projects page on the computers and USBs and look at all the different things that people did on the projects dealing with the Commodore 64, from doing the Commodore 64 PLA replacement to doing joystick joypads when you're doing retro gaming to doing a keyboard. They have so many cool different projects that you can make using their PCBWay boards, and I love it for all my retro computer and computer gaming needs. So check out PCBWay.
So go ahead and pull up a chair, grab a joystick, and let's get started.
The first game we're going to be looking at is Bagitman, and Bagitman's based on the arcade game Bagman, and we're going to look at Bagman for a little bit just so I could show you what the arcade looked like, so when you're comparing it back to this game you get an idea. And they did really well with Bagitman. This was just a clone of this game, and there was another clone that also came out for the Commodore 64, and the other clone was Gilligan's Gold. But in Bagitman, how this game works is you're a robber, and your goal is to go around and collect all the bags of money in each of the 3 scenes and dump them into your wheelbarrow. And you got to avoid these miners that are moving around, and also avoid the rail cars that are going back and forth. And you can also pick up this pickaxe and you can knock them unconscious for a few seconds while you're going around. And while you're trying to collect it and the rail car gets in the way, you can also cling onto the ceiling, and then while it passes, drop into it, which helps you, and it also can take out the miners as you ride in the rail car, which is really cool and a fun thing to do. But once you collect all the bags of money in one scene, you just simply move on to the next one. You don't have to do it all together. You can actually hit them all at the same time, go to the 3 different scenes. And I really like this one. I thought this one was a lot of fun. The arcade game was fun if you ever played it. That arcade came out in 83. Bagitman came out 83, 84-ish for the Commodore and other systems that it was released on. And this is just a classic arcade, fun. Always enjoyed playing this one. I always get Gilligan's Gold and Bagitman a little confused because they're so similar, because the gameplay is very similar. But just know there's 2 clones for the Commodore 64. This is one of them. Gilligan Gold's the other one. Bagman is the original. But they did really good with Bagitman. Give it 2 thumbs up. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So next we're going to be looking at a game called Falcon Patrol, and this one's a classic from 1983, around the same time that Bagitman came out. This was released by Virgin Games, and how this goes is you're the last surviving pilot of the Falcon Patrol squadron, and you got to fend off wave after wave of hostile jets, and you got to avoid the bombing of 6 airfields, because the airfields is where you go back to get your fuel and get your ammunition and stuff to be able to shoot when you get these short breaks between attacks. And this game has a radar in it, and so you can see where they're exactly at, so you know which direction to go and to attack. And I enjoyed this game. I think it's a classic shooting game. If you've had the Commodore 64 very long, you probably played this game one time or another. Also had Falcon Patrol 2 that came out after this game, so it did pretty good, and it's very similar to I would say it's similar to Defender, where you got that side to side, how you're the horizontal scrolling and shooting at the different ones, the different planes and so forth. So similar to Defender is how I'd pick it up. The sound in it's okay. I enjoyed this game. It's definitely an old school classic. Chasing down the jet planes, I enjoyed chasing them down and shooting them, and then going and refueling and so forth. It's just a good one. So, did you ever play Falcon Patrol? Have you ever checked it out, or maybe Falcon Patrol 2? Would be interested in comments. Just leave a comment down below. So let's go ahead now and move on to the next game. So next we're going to be looking at Ice Hunter, and Ice Hunter is a single screen platformer where you play the role of Thorak the Eskimo, the Prince of Ice, and what you're doing is you're searching for blocks to make a special igloo. So in your search you're found a multi-level cave containing these blocks you need for the igloo, so you go in there to retrieve them, and the only way to get the blocks to the side of your igloo is to get 2 blocks, one at a time, to a stream at the bottom of the cave, and then stand on them to float them down the stream. And the main problem, though, is the creatures that move around the screen, and these have to be avoided, and if you touch them, you lose, and you got 4 lives. And the creatures can be killed by dropping a block on top of them or allowing them to fall through the gaps. And a bird occasionally appears, and it can be killed if it's in the flight path is blocked. It's gaps, so you can walk on the platform to remove it and then drop the blocks through the gaps in the level below. Thorak can't fall through the gaps as he is killed if he falls through, but there's like these pillars he can climb up and down. And at a certain level in the cave, Thorak can't get back up, so he has to make sure that he has 2 blocks to move them to a stream. And a power pill can be collected, and these stun the creatures that can be touched to remove them. And then once the blocks are floated away, then it's off to the next cave with more creatures, and the level starts to scroll slowly to the left and appear again to the right of the screen. So that is Ice Hunter. So did you like it? Did you play it? Would love your thoughts about Ice Hunter. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The keyword this week is eyeball. The keyword is eyeball. So next we're going to look at Protector 2, which is a Snaps game that came out first for the Atari, and then it came out for the Commodore 64. It came out in 1983, so all these games so far have all been around that same time period. And I played this disc quite a bit because I like these games. Now, Protector 2 is another one of those games that is very much like Defender. So a lot of people, when you had a hit, a lot of people copied it and just tweaked it up a little bit of different ways. But you got to fight these different aliens that are picking up these people and hauling them off and then dropping them down in a volcano. And enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun one also. So far all these have been pretty classic arcade style games where you just pick up the joystick and start playing, and you just know how to play. Enjoyed it quite a bit, and I would definitely give this one 2 thumbs up also. So like Defender, there's a lot of different aliens that you have to contend with, And there's some ground-based enemies as well you got to watch out. And you don't have smart bombs, however, like you do in Defender. And you have to rescue the humans as well, twice, both from the alien ship and later a city that be overrun with lava from a volcano that erupts during the game. And all the while protecting them from aliens. So you have to drop them one at a time. Unlike Defender, you can only carry one human at a time into like a teleporter tube to get them off the planet entirely. And the game is quite difficult. It's pretty hard, and you got to have some really good precise flying at times to to be able to get through these different ones. And it has more of a plot than the Defender game does. But overall, like I said, 2 thumbs up. Fun shooting game. If you've never played this one, definitely worth checking out. So next we're going to be looking at a game called Orpheus in the Underworld. And on my floppy, it was called Pitfall 3. So you could tell they definitely took Pitfall 3 and did a little tweaks to it. But Orpheus is an explorer, and his new conquest, he's discovered a passage to the underworld of Hades. So the problem is, once that you've entered, you can't leave unless you collect all the treasure that's scattered all over the place. And once the treasure's collected, Orpheus can leave, but in his quest for freedom, he must avoid creatures, obstacles, and traps. And like I said, it's based on the game Pitfall, where the game is flick screen and viewed from the side, and there are 2 levels on the screen where you can move between them via ladders and gaps in the floor and so forth. And creatures move about, and if you touch one of those or lose one of those, you lose one of your 3 lives, and as well as when you fall into pits. And there's also obstacles to overcome, like pits and rope swings and traps like holes appearing, but just like Pitfall, where it opens up and closes. And like I said, the only thing you don't get is your Tarzan yell while you swing across the vine. In this game, I would just say it was okay. It's interesting that they were relabeled it Pitfall 3, and that's all I knew it as a kid. I never really paid attention that it was called Orpheus in the Underworld until I just saw the title screen today and said, first of all, I didn't remember that there ever was a Pitfall 3. And then when I loaded this up, I was like, that's definitely not Pitfall 3, but someone who's copying the idea, kind of like how the last game copied Defender. It just seemed to be very common where someone found something close and they just tweak it up a little bit, add something, take something away, but still very, very similar. And I'm surprised a lot of these games didn't get sued back in those days, but I guess you know, I know it's happened for some, but I guess it didn't happen all that often if people really didn't worry about it when they took the time to make these games. So that's it. That's Orpheus in the Underworld. I give it a C. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So now we're going to look at the game Cops and Robbers. And this game was published by Atlantic Software in 1985 for the VIC-20. And it was identically on the Commodore 64. Hence, the graphics are just not that great. It was also on the Commodore 16 and the Commodore Plus 4 and the Atari. And the game was controversial when it was released because the player takes the role as the robber and he must shoot the police. So the gameplay of this is you take the role of a thief and you got to start off in the corner of the opening screen. You got to make your way to the Acme Diamond Company and you're trying to steal diamonds, and police appear from the police station and they will home in on us and arrest us, and to avoid being arrested you had to shoot the policeman. And your bullets are limited, but they can be replenished by going back to the car. And you can also enter a mine or the police station from the opening screen. And there's many diamonds to collect with many different levels at the Acme Company building as well as a mine. And when the police enter the building, but not the mine where the other enemies are ghosts, so the player must also enter the police station and free fellow robbers. And there are a few basic puzzles, collecting keys and TNT and torches, and some rooms are dark, so you can't even see the maze while you're going through there without the torch. and the code for the safe to, you know, to advance in the game. So the game was criticized for the fact that you shoot and kill many policemen through this game, and at the time this was highly controversial because as video games were seen, they were made for children. So they thought it was very inappropriate and strikes it very weird that you had to go around and shoot these policemen in this video game where shooting policemen is not the same as, you know, shooting aliens from a distant planet. But it just did not come across very well. I just thought the game was average at best, if even that. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Just graphics were bad, gameplay was bad, it was jittery, it was hard to control, your guy didn't move very well. Just give this one a thumbs down. So next we're going to be looking at the game Trap, and it's another Anthony Crowther game, and if you are familiar with that name, it's because I mentioned it before in a past game. He did a lot of different games, and some that we've already reviewed, like the Killer Watt from last week, and the Griffin, and he's responsible for Potty Pigeon. So he always has that unique graphics look to himself, you know. I can't say I'm ever really a huge fan of his games because his games always seem to be really hard. Well, maybe not Potty Pigeon, but the other games seem to be very hard, and this one's no exception. This game I found to be very hard. It is not easy for your average guy trying to get, you know, as far as you can. It's not just shooting these asteroids when you start off, but I had a hard time even getting past these asteroids to get to the next section just to be able to do the next thing. But the big thing about this game isn't so much the gameplay. The thing that everyone remembers, or maybe you didn't know of this, but it has a hidden demo in it. So if you get a high score, you could type in demo as your name and it will give you this demo of the Space Gladiator that I've seen as a demo, but I didn't even realize it was in this game until I started researching it. And I did a little bit of the demo so you could check it out, and I'll put it up so you could look at it a little bit. It's about 7 minutes long, so I didn't want to throw it into the video and do the whole 7 minutes of it. But if you're interested, just this game Trap, all you got to do is get on the high score list, type demo, and it will show you this demo. Or you could just download the demo directly and check it out. And the demo is pretty cool. And I like the music. A lot of people like the music of I believe his name is Ben Daglish. And anyway, very cool just to have that demo hidden in there. And it, like I said, probably the coolest thing about this game. Not that the game was bad, the graphics looked good, it was just too difficult. I thought they should make it a little bit easier. You definitely have to have patience to be able to play this game. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So next we're going to be looking at the Formula One simulator by Mastertronic that came out around 1985, and it was released on multiple systems: the Amstrad, Commodore 16 and Plus 4, the MSX, and the ZX Spectrum. The biggest thing about this is Rob Hubbard did the music for it, and it's just a racing driving simulation game. Everything's in first-person view, and in the simulation you could race. There's 10 international circuits, and including traditional favorites like Monaco and Silverstone and stuff like that. And it can be done in wet or dry conditions, and you could do manual or automatic gears. So it's just a fun little budget game, and with it being Mastertronic, you know, it's definitely a budget game. But I read somewhere this is one of their best-selling budget games for Mastertronic. It was pretty good. It's very similar to Speed King, but like in Speed King, it's like they took the motorcycle out and put the car in. And I enjoyed this one. I would give it a C+. I thought it was fun to play. I thought the driving was smooth. And if you haven't ever checked this one, check it out. If you did play it, put it down in the comments. Would love to hear from you. So last on here we had a demo that was just titled Beastie Boys, and when I loaded it up, this is what it did, which can get really annoying pretty quick, so I'm going to stop it here, but just wanted to share this demo. Not sure what Abraham Lincoln had to do with it all.
So that's it, guys. That's everything that's on this floppy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there are some games you want to talk about, please put them down in the comments. I'd love to hear about you. What are your favorites? Which ones don't you like? And until next time, thank you for joining me on another Floppy Deep Dive.